about the role of Olivia Wilde in this movie?
Oh,
The
she was
blind date.
interesting. The blind date. That was such an interesting scene. Like, how do you unpack that? Like, I can understand her character of like, oh, I don't have time to be in a non-committed relationship and him being uncertain. But then on the flip side, I'm like, you just met this woman and she's really just put a lot on your shoulders all of a sudden after a blind date. So I was like, she was to me a bit of a weirdo. Like from 0 to 100 and then expecting 0 and 100 from the poor bloke. So, but it showed like, the difference when people know what they kind of want, versus when people are still trying to navigate what it is to have human connection and to have love and whatnot. But I really liked. But then again, it was very engineered because then like Samantha booked the perfect location for her, did all the research for the date, and so it also shows that you can't force connection on people, even if you do all the right things. Like there is that little element of the unknown that has to click. But it was an interesting lesson for Theodore to see, all right, like if you saw his response and how she was so strong with him and called him a weirdo because he didn't have an upfront answer or didn't upfront say that it was just, him getting to know her. It's not like it's, 100% that we're going to be forever after one day. Then his communication changed with Samantha and he learned to then like he kept putting all this stuff up front going, oh, just so you know, I'm not ready. And she's like, I never asked you that question. That doesn't bother me. I don't care. And so that was a really interesting parallel. So showing that again, it's like you think you've done something wrong with one person, and by doing what you think is right with another person, it's actually wrong as well. So it's really person specific. What is the right way to approach human connection and communication? Like you can't get it right. Like you just have to ask what someone needs from you in that scenario.
Yeah, and she could be actually very good for Theodore in case of physical relationship,
Yeah,
but in case of being his girlfriend, it wouldn't work. Even in the second date, they would have big problem, I think.
yeah, I agreed. I don't think they had enough in common subject matter wise. Like it felt very forced. Like I don't know if from where they shot the footage of that scene, it felt to me like they were trying to communicate like the conversation wasn't flowing. The drinks were helping, but the physical attraction obviously was there because she's gorgeous, and obviously he's been lonely for so long. So again, that necessarily your the physical can lie, whereas the mental doesn't. And also with the iOS, it's like the iOS didn't have a body, and so he found a deeper connection from not just relying on physical assets to dictate whether this is something he'll pursue or not. So that was an interesting element to the film as well, because he seemed to find a deeper, more fulfilling connection with someone who didn't have a body than the person who was drop dead gorgeous in front of him on a date. So this film has so many layers.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I say, for example, Theodore lost some of the opportunities just because of being too nice. For example, he could be like other guys. He would just enjoy the night and even not necessarily call her back, or even in the second date, automatically they break up. But he didn't go through that. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying he's sometimes too nice. And maybe girls even don't like guys like being too nice. Like, for example, Olivia was interested to just do the same thing again and again like other guys with Theodore, but Theodore didn't play that game. And as soon as he didn't play that game, then she just showed her other side to say, oh, you are a weirdo. And
Yeah.
suddenly it became about Theodore
Yeah.
instead of what she's
Her.
doing.
And the fact that I think it was rejection. People respond to rejection really weirdly. Um, and I think it's because I think love's such a tricky thing. And I like that this film has tried to communicate the complexities of it, because you meet someone for the first time and all of a sudden you need to decide whether you love them forever or for not. And like love is an evolving thing, and there's physical love, there's emotional love, and it evolves constantly, which is perfect how this film communicates it. And so you can't, like, it's so complex to meet someone and then all of a sudden go from 0 to 100. So I don't necessarily think he's too nice. I think when it's about that people want different things in different moments. It's like, and certain people bring those things out of you, whereas other people don't. And it's like he might be really nice, and then to another person that niceness is so endearing, and that's everything they've been looking for. Whereas to Olivia Wilde, that's something that's jarring. And again, also on the flip side, you could say that based on her past relationships, she's never experienced this niceness, so she doesn't know what to do with it. So her whole response is, it's an unknown, I'm going to have my walls up and be really aggressive and bleh. So you can see both sides. Like love's a constant. Your skills in learning how to love and be in a relationship and communicate with another human are constantly evolving. And I unfortunately think our society at the moment has gone backwards with that. Like we've lost the art of talking to one another on that spectrum. Like we're so used to being on phones, we're so used to being like on text. Like we are so not used to having open and honest conversations with strangers, or like asking what we want, or just being able to talk to one another now. And it's weird. Like even if you're dating someone, you swipe left or right. You don't go into a bar and strike up a conversation. Or even further back in time, you had to ask someone's parents for permission, then you take them out to the movies, you get dressed up. Like the art of dating or striking a connection with someone has so much changed that I think we're all a bit lost. And that's why there's a lot of loneliness, because we're so hyper connected with technology, but in the real world, we're not talking and interacting. We're almost really angry and aggressive half the time with people because we're such in a rush to get so much shit done. And we've lost that art of just connecting to people, which I think is a bit sad. Like,
Yeah,
we just need
unfortunately.
to, yeah. And this is why we're so lonely. Like we're like so many people are lonely now. Like it's a problem. Like loneliness is the next issue for this generation. Is just people are really lonely.
Yes, and
And
still feel
as
magnetic.
someone just mentioned, it's our obsession to connect, but we all have become disconnected. And I think
Well
that
said.
no truer things have been spoken. We are obsessed with connecting and finding purpose with one another, but we've used a medium that we're overstimulated, overconnected. But I think it's all superficial connection. It's like how many followers you've got, how many connections. It's not those life connections, those friend groups where you really would share everything with, and you would navigate the complexities of life with them and learn through their trial and error, and